The next topic we're going to look at is what if you have multiple tests? So, our example, calculator, parking lot calculator, and there's one class, one feature file, one steps file for one class that you want to test. But typically you have more. So in this, look at an example. I have a simple calculator with only add and subtract, and I have a complex calculator with add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And divide, you can also get an exception here. What if I want to test this? Now what I'm going to do, so what you can do is write one test for both calculators, for both the simple calculator and the complex calculator in one file. The problem with that is you run in all kind of problems. Which calculator do you have to run? So besides separation of concern, this is not a good thing to do. We want to write the steps for the simple calculator in a separate file than the steps for the complex calculator. Otherwise we also get into problems with this pattern matching. We can make a mistake that we have the same string, the same pattern for both the simple and the complex calculator. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is, the first thing is we write multiple feature files. So I have here a calculator and a calculator 2 feature file. One is for the simple calculator, one is for the complex calculator. The only thing I need to do then in this class is, now I say only cucumber. I only specify this package here. And then cucumber looks in this package and find both feature files. So find both feature files. So what we want to do is we create a feature file for the simple calculator with the corresponding steps. We create a feature file for the complex calculator with the corresponding steps. And then we have a class like this class here that we can use to run it. So we make one for the simple calculator, we make one for the complex calculator. So this on itself is just what we have done before, a test for the simple calculator. We do exactly the same, but with new classes and a new feature file for the complex calculator. Now, if we want to run both, we make a JUnit test suite. So remember, we had different JUnit tests in different classes. How can we combine them? We can make a test suite. So we make a suite where we add these two classes. If we run the suite as a JUnit test, it will first run the test from this class, then run the test from this class. So here's my example. First, we get two feature files. This is for the simple calculator. This is for the complex calculator. Two feature files. Then, this is the steps for the simple calculator. So you see here's the simple calculator. I do everything on the simple calculator. This is the steps for the complex calculator, which has also divide. I see now here that this argument should be here. Well, in PowerPoint you can do everything. This should not be 2. Well, it doesn't allow me. But this should be an argument, that should be an argument. So I have two feature files, two step files, step classes. Then I create a class that you can run with a JUnit for the simple calculator test. So it uses the simple calculator feature file. And these two files, like this one and this one, they have to go in a different package. So this one is in the package simple calculator.steps, This one is the package complexcalculator.steps. And here I specify the steps you find in test simplecalculator.steps. And a similar one you create for the complex calculator. So here, complex calculator steps and a complex calculator feature file. Now, if I run this, everything is green for the simple calculator. If I run this, everything is green for the complex calculator. And then what I do, I create a suite, similar as in JUnit. Create a suite and here specify which classes you want to run. So that's this one and this one. And if I run the suite, then you see, okay, it runs the complex calculator and here the simple calculator. That's how you deal with multiple feature files, multiple classes that you want to test. Now today we're using Cucumber and Gherkin with testing Java classes. Tomorrow we'll do exactly the same, but then we're going to test web applications. So then in our step files, we have to write Selenium WebDriver. So instead of now call the add method of the calculator, then you have to say, click up the button with this locator. Now the last thing we're going to look at is tags. Tags allow you to group certain tests together. So organize your scenarios. And a tag is with an ampersand, like an annotation in Java. And you can make up any tag you want. Here is tag add done, add smoke test, add, I don't know, production test, add unit test, add today or whatever, add tomorrow, can be anything. So let's look at an example here. Let's say this is my whole list of tests that I have. 15 tests. And some tests, they belong to the smoke test. 6 of them belong to the smoke test. Some of them belong to the regression test. 4 of them. 7 of them belong to an end-to-end test. And nobody has no type. So some of them, so the successful login, belongs to the smoke test and a regression test. The buy a product by cash payment belongs to the smoke test and the end-to-end test. Now, what I can do now, in my feature file, I can say, so this is my feature here. On the feature, I say add functional test. This basically means all the scenarios in this feature are a functional test. It's just a tag that I give it. It is a functional test. Then, on this scenario, successful login, I add the tags add smoke test, add regression test. So the successful login scenario is a functional test, a smoke test, and a regression test. All the tests are a functional test because I put it here on the feature. This one is a regression test and a functional test. This one is a smoke test and a functional test. This one is only a functional test. Here, this one is an end-to-end test and a functional test. So all of these scenarios, they belong to a certain group. Now, what can you do with it? In the class that I run as JUnit, if I don't specify any tag here, it just runs all tests and it doesn't look at tags. So all the tests run here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add here tag equal end to end. That means only run the tests that are annotated, that are tagged with the tag end to end. Well, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, actually it's 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a scenario outline. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can say only run end-to-end tests. That's the nice thing of these tags, you can group things together. Here, only run the functional test. Well, what's the thing? The functional test is on the feature, so it runs all tests. All tests are then a functional test. You can also say, run the smoke test or the regression test. You can also say, run the smoke test and regression test. So that's only two that have both. So what's the difference? It's hard to see, but here, this is one string here. Add smoke test, comma, add regression test. It's the quotes start here and the quotes end here. One string. The comma is part of the string. With the end, it's separated. The string starts here and it ends here. And then we get a comma. And then we get a new string. Starts here and ends here. That's the difference between and or. You can also have the ignore. So run all functional tests, but ignore the smoke test. Don't run the smoke test. So tags allow you to group tests together so that you can specify which test do you want to run at this moment.